Alright everyone, it's time to talk about disinformation, but not a Chinese or Russian disinfo campaign, but rather a US corporate billionaire campaign actually being waged right now against the independent media and the Trump campaign, a la the Hunter Biden email scandal. Now, Bannon claims that tomorrow in the morning he's going to blow the whole thing apart, that they've got the receipts, and they've got a picture of Obama and Hunter Biden together there. This is possible. And maybe Hunter Biden discussed weird sexual shit with Obama. Wouldn't that be funny? I think it's beginning to eke away at the Biden camp. There's a reason that he called another lid, although it is disinfo that he called a total lid on everything for the rest of the campaign. That's coming from the Trump team, so ignore that. That's hyperbole. Anyway, link in the description, archived of course. Always use archive.today. We're going to go through a few lines, of course the title and subtitle of this, and look at a bunch of lies from a Washington Post article here by Thomas Rid. And we're going to talk about why it's a lie. I've got it open. I've got to read it verbatim. Insisting that the Hunter Biden laptop is fake is a trap. It's also false. So is insisting that it's real. The lesson of 2016 is to be even more careful with potential disinformation in 2020. Now here, let me stop you right there for a couple of obvious lies right up front without even getting into the article. The fact is that insisting that it's fake it isn't a trap, it's just false. The Hunter Biden laptop saga is real. We have corroboration of this. We have photos, we have video, we have corroborated emails. We've had not just Bob Alinsky, there was some other person, I think it was an unnamed individual on the email chain, who corroborated it up front. We know that this material is real, 100%. It's not a disinfo campaign either, and that's the other thing. Calling something potential disinfo, my goodness, I can call any random piece of information in the world potential disinfo. The number of weasel words in this article is profuse. When you see weasel words like potentially, supposedly, possibly, maybe, when you see things like that in a journalistic outlet's reporting, it's because they're trying to avoid, number one, stepping on their own dick and getting sued because they know that they're full of shit. And number two, admitting that basically it's a falsehood. This is an element of muddying the waters within this article. I'm going to go through a little more. You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax? You got to be kidding me, President Trump shot back at Joe Biden in the final presidential debate Thursday. I mean, he's right. The former vice president had told the president that a now infamous story in the New York Post, sourced from leaked emails and accusing Biden of corruption in Ukraine, was a Russian plant. Again, let me stop you right there. This is not a Russian disinfo campaign. This is coming from Giuliani and Bannon. Now, if you had told someone 5 years ago you thought Rudy Giuliani was working for Vladimir Putin, even if they were a diehard leftist Democrat, they would have goddamn laughed you in the face. And if they were Republican, they would have called you a fucking pinko. Rudy Giuliani, the America's mayor, 9/11, all that stuff, universally applauded, ran unsuccessfully for the presidency. I think he would have been a better candidate than McCain, by the way, and presumably won. It didn't get as much traction, sadly. I thought Giuliani was a better fit. I ended up voting for Obama because McCain sucked so badly, and I hold to that. I did the right thing. It's preposterous. The idea that everything that is inconvenient for anyone who is opposing Trump is automatically from Moscow is gloriously stupid. It is in and of itself disinfo. It is in and of itself propaganda. The irony is that the disinformation campaign that we're seeing is not foreign, it is domestic, or at least multinational in the domestic sense. Domestic branches, Silicon Valley, legacy media, of multinational firms. And it's not pro-Trump, it is anti-Trump. In this election, in the sense of the election, the broader sense. Who is right? And how should the nation handle this leak and potential foreign interference at a critical time? It's not foreign interference. There is not one foreign fingerprint on this material. You know, unlike the Steele dossier that you thought was totally legit, that you never bothered to corroborate. You didn't need corroboration. You said, oh, Pissgate must be real. 4chan trolled the entire legacy media into thinking that Donald Trump had hired Russian prostitutes to piss on the Obama's bed when they left his hotel in Russia. You gotta be kidding me if you think that this is anything but a double standard. A close look at the evidence shows that neither Biden nor Trump have the facts on their side for now. But that's wrong. See, here's how you muddy the waters. The proposition is wrong. The truth is that Trump does have the facts on his side. From everything that we know, there is no foreign disinfo campaign against Joe Biden. The emails are real. They have been corroborated. The photos and video are totally substantiated. Biden's not even denying them. The only thing you can say about something like this is that it's irrelevant. You could say, well, Hunter Biden's having crack orgies. Okay, he's not running for office. I agree with you. See, the problem is this. I hate hypocrisy. And I find it very ironic that the father of the 94 crime bill, the offshoots at the state level of which have incarcerated hundreds of thousands of people for excessive sentences over non-violent offenses that in some cases should never have been crimes to begin with. So you had weed on you, you got caught. You had weed on you again, you got caught again, and they gave you a felony charge. A third time's a charm. You smoked a joint, you're going to prison for 20 years. You're a felon, you can't vote, you can't own a gun and stuff. The irony is that Trump is the one that's undoing this with the First Steps Act. He was the architect of the soft-on, non-violent crime legislation that passed last year. That's Trump. Biden is literally the father of these laws that would have put Hunter Biden, if he wasn't Biden's son, and he got caught doing what he did, away for the rest of his natural-born life. If he didn't get a literal life sentence, he would have gotten a high enough level felony charge that he would have been in prison for long enough so that if he got out at all, he'd look like a goddamn wizard. He'd look like a fucking hermit. He'd be 65, 70 fucking years old. That's what pisses me off. The rules for thee, not for me mentality. The NIMBY mentality. I don't care if my son smokes crack and fucks lots of hookers and spreads whatever weird STDs he probably has around at this point because it doesn't appear that it was protected sex. I don't care if he does that, but if you do that, your kid does that, they're in jail forever. Fuck you. That's Joe Biden's mentality, and that's what pisses me off. That and the fact that he wants to steal more of my money to go bomb people. But you can go on through this article. I'm not going to go all the way through it because it's obtuse. We see this more and more from the legacy media. It's straight up propaganda. The idea that there is some doubt as to the credibility of this material is itself disinfo. It's basically, you've proven that something's real, you know that it's real, but they're trying to gaslight and tell you, well, we're not exactly sure that it is. Yes, we do. We have had this material corroborated completely. And the New York Post, the idea that the New York Post is a tabloid, my goodness, it's one of the oldest newspapers in the fucking goddamn US. They were founded at the dawn of the 19th century. They date to an era in which some of the founders of the country, although elderly at the time, were still fucking alive. It's literally on the top 10 list of oldest papers in the United States. If they are a tabloid, then my goodness, what does that say about the Atlantic? About the New York Times, which I believe is less old than the New York Post, ironically enough. What does it say about CNN? Certainly like a HuffPost or a Salon. What does it say about them? They've managed to be around for 200 fucking years or more. I think about 212, actually. I think it was 1808 or something? Fucking Benjamin Franklin was still, he was still crepitating in the grave at the point, I think. I think a few of the I think Thomas Jefferson may still have been alive at that point. I think he wasn't that old when he was president in the late 1700s. Anyway, getting off of the historical subject, there is no question of the validity. And there's no reason to believe it is a disinfo campaign. Here's the thing. You've got solid evidence it's real, and yet this Washington Post article tries to convince you that there's still a question about it. But there's no legitimate evidence to believe it's a foreign propaganda campaign, and then they inject the doubt and say, well, it might be disinfo. We have to treat this. And then the article makes the fantastic claim that even though it's probably not foreign interference, we should treat it like it is and learn from 2016. So basically what you are saying is that you wish to spread propaganda and lies in various overlapping layers because the material is inconvenient for the candidate you have explicitly endorsed. So the fact that it's bad for Biden means you're going to pretend that it's foreign disinfo, even though you self-admit in the context of the article explicitly that you recognize that it's probably not. This is called a lack of journalistic ethics. This is called yellow journalism. Google that term. This is yellow journalism. This is a legacy media outlet, which is owned by Bezos, who I don't have a hate boner for, like many people who are not on the left. I don't see him as a boogeyman any more than I do any of these other perennial boogeymen. It's owned by Bezos. It's a liberal publication. It has endorsed Joe Biden, I believe in the explicit sense, if not in just the de facto sense. It's not fair reporting. It's not even journalism at all. There is no attempt here to fact check. In fact, the person writing the article explicitly says that they're going to ignore what they establish as the likely reality in favor of a pipe dream in order to attack the opponent of the person that he likes. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it? This is the legacy media conducting propaganda and self-admitting to it in its own reporting. The propaganda article self-admits to be propaganda. And yet there are people who will completely gloss over when you talk about this to them. Isn't it interesting how small-minded some people really are? Makes autocracy look better every single fucking day that there are any people out there that take this swill seriously. This is why we need alt-tech, this is why we need independent media, because we clearly can't count on these people to report fairly. Never gonna goddamn happen. That's about all. Peace out.